stock up on drinks, because what I'm about to share isn't just a story, it's a slow-motion car crash of trust, love, and betrayal. I thought I'd rescued her from the darkness twice, but I was stupid. Instead, I found myself alone, watching it all unfold like some sick joke I didn't even realize I was part of. If you've ever trusted the wrong person, if you've ever drowned out that voice in your head whispering something's wrong, then you already know the kind of road this leads to. She lied to my face, brazenly and without a hint of shame. And behind my back? She did it all over again. But what you don't know is how deep that betrayal ran, or how I responded. I acted like goddamn Detective Columbo. And when the truth came out, I zeroed her out. Clean. Believe me, she'll regret what she did for the rest of her life. But let me start at the beginning. My name's Sean. I'm 40 years old, and I run my own logistics firm just outside of Dallas. Not a flashy business, not the kind you brag about at cocktail parties, but it's steady. I built it from scratch over the past 12 years, and it's grown into something I'm proud of. Got a dozen employees, a handful of trucks, and more stress than I know what to do with. I'm usually up at 6, on calls by 7, running routes, dealing with suppliers, drivers, contracts. My life is spreadsheets and long phone calls and invoices that never seem to match. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills, and it keeps my hands and head busy. Thing is, all that time working meant I didn't leave much space for a personal life. Most of my friends settled down long ago, had kids, barbecues, mortgage complaints, all that. Me? I always thought I'd get around to it eventually. I had a couple long-term relationships, nothing dramatic. Just slow fades. No hard feelings, just life getting in the way. Then I met Emily. I wasn't looking for anything. Hell, I wasn't even in the right mindset for anything real. I just wrapped a brutal month at work. Emily wasn't from my world. She was in what some folks call the companionship business. You paid for her time. Some guys wanted conversation, some wanted something more. I didn't think much about it when I booked her the first time. I figured I'd have dinner with a pretty woman, talk about anything that wasn't shipping schedules, and feel human for a few hours. I'm gonna kick back and relax from my caseload. She walked into that hotel bar and my heart just stopped. She had this black dress, and her hair was done up like she'd just stepped off a movie set. But it wasn't just the way she looked, though that would have been enough to turn heads. It was the way she carried herself. Confident, like she knew she could break hearts without lifting a finger. And her voice, warm, with a laugh that hit me right in the gut. We talked for hours. She made me forget I had work in the morning. She listened. Not in that fake nodding way, but really listened. Asked questions, gave thoughtful replies. At the end of the meeting she asked, would I like a continuation in the room? But I was so moved by her that I refused that day. That first meeting turned into a second. Then a third. At first, I thought I was just lonely. I thought maybe I just liked the idea of someone paying attention to me without needing anything in return. But after a while, it wasn't about paying at all. I just wanted to be around her. She was sharp, quick-witted, and when she smiled, she did it with her whole face. I didn't feel judged around her. I felt lucky. Like I'd stumbled into something rare and beautiful and utterly out of reach. It became a routine. Once or twice a week, I'd clear a night and we'd meet up. 6 months in, I asked her to move in. She was quiet at first, like she didn't believe me. I told her I meant it. That she didn't have to do that work anymore. That I'd take care of her. She didn't have to worry about rent or bills or bad clients. She could have a fresh start. A real one. She cried. She said no one had ever believed in her like that. That all her life she felt like she had to survive alone. And this, me, was the first time someone saw her as more than a price tag. She said she wanted out. That she hated that life. That maybe, just maybe, she could be something else with me. I believed her. I always do when she cries. So she moved in. Just like that. We signed quietly, no lavish weddings, no guests, no tables. We celebrated at home, just the two of us. She brought life into my house like fresh air through an open window. And for a little while, it felt like the start of something good. Something real. Something worth everything. Those first few months with Emily under my roof felt like a fresh coat of paint over an old wall. Bright, smooth, clean. We settled into a rhythm that looked a lot like domestic bliss. I'd leave early for work. Her laugh echoed through the house. She played music in the mornings while she made smoothies she never finished. I'd watch her sometimes when she didn't know, spinning around barefoot, dancing with the dog, reading some cheesy romance novel she found in a thrift store, and I'd think, maybe this really is my shot at happiness. I was working more than ever, though. The business was growing, and I had a big contract in the works with a new distributor out of Houston. My days were jam-packed, and the pressure kept building. I told myself I was doing it for us, for the life we were building. Emily didn't seem to mind. She kept busy with yoga, brunches, spa appointments, and whatever. She always had some new self-care routine going. Sometimes she'd call it her healing era, like she was reinventing herself day by day. I didn't ask a lot of questions. I trusted her. I really did. She was young, she'd had a rough life before, and now she finally had room to breathe. Who was I to put a leash on that? If she wanted to meet friends, go shopping, take up Pilates, fine by me. I wasn't going to be that guy who turned a rescue into a prisoner. And yeah, part of me probably felt proud that I'd pulled her out of that life. Like I'd done something noble. Something good. I had no reason to suspect anything. Not then. She was warm, loving, still kissed me when I walked through the door. The night it happened, I had a dinner meeting at a high-end steakhouse downtown. I was pitching a long-term logistics partnership to 2 regional suppliers, one of the biggest deals I'd ever chased. I wore my nicest blazer, dusted off my watch, and tried to remember which wine paired with what. I was nervous, but confident. I'd done my homework. Then they showed up. 3 of them. One of the reps, his business partner, and a third man I didn't recognize, with a woman. It was Emily. She looked radiant. Tight dress, red lipstick, hair pulled back the way she always said made her feel dangerous. She saw me before I saw her. Froze mid-step. Her smile faltered for half a second, then snapped back into place like a mask. I didn't even blink. Just nodded politely as if she were a stranger. She said nothing. Sat down beside the man, laughing at some dumb joke he made. We locked eyes once, across the table. There was something between panic and pleading in her eyes. Mine didn't move. I couldn't afford to. Halfway through the second course, she stood up suddenly and said she wasn't feeling well. Her date didn't object. She left with a quick goodbye and her coat draped over her arm. I didn't say a word, just smiled at the client. I landed the deal. Somehow. When I got home that night, the lights were off, but she was up, sitting in the kitchen like she'd been waiting. I walked past her without saying anything, loosened my tie, poured a whiskey, and stood by the sink. She said she could explain. I didn't ask her to. Not yet. I just stared at her. She looked so small in that moment. Just small. Like a shadow of the person I thought I knew. She told me she hadn't expected me to be there. That it was nothing. That it was just company, whatever that meant. Said she'd been trying to make a little money of her own, so she didn't feel like dead weight in the house. I didn't believe her. But I wanted to. So I just stood there. The kitchen was quiet except for the sound of the fridge humming. My heart was beating so loud I could hear it in my ears. And for the first time since she moved in, I wasn't sure who was sitting across from me. I'm not proud of how I reacted that night. In the aftermath. After a long lull. But I'm not going to lie. After she gave me her little half-hearted excuse at the kitchen table, I didn't just shrug it off. I snapped. I was angry, shaking, buzzing, pacing the floor, kind of angry. Everything inside me felt like it was coming undone. I wasn't just mad at her. I was mad at myself. For being blind. For playing house with someone I barely knew. For thinking I could pull her out of the mess she came from and just pretend we were a normal couple. I asked her point blank what she was doing at that dinner. Why she was with that guy. Why she was dressed like that. She kept saying it wasn't what it looked like. That it was just company. That he was someone she used to know. And he'd reached out, asked her to come along for a work event, and she hadn't thought it'd be a big deal. She said she didn't know I'd be there. She said she felt cornered the second she walked in. I wasn't buying it. I told her to stop lying. Told her I'd seen the way he looked at her, the way she touched his arm, the way her laugh changed around him. Told her no one hires someone like her just for company at a dinner that fancy. I told her to go away. For tonight. To a hotel with the money she'd earned. Not forever. Just for the night. I needed space. I needed to think without her face in front of me, without the scent of her perfume lingering in the air, without the sound of her voice trying to mold the story into something softer than the truth. She broke down crying. Big, wet, messy tears. Said she didn't mean to hurt me. Said she was scared I'd see her differently, that I wouldn't understand. Said she hated that I had to see her like that. I told her I already did. She tried to hug me before she left, but I stepped back. Couldn't do it. She looked at me like I'd just shut the lights off in a room she didn't know how to navigate. After that, she turned around and silently walked away. Morning came slow and heavy. I hadn't moved from the chair when I heard the knock. She was back. No makeup. Hair in a messy knot. hoodie pulled up like armor. Her eyes were puffy and red, and I could tell she hadn't slept either. She apologized again, voice trembling, said she made a mistake, that she didn't want to lose me, that nothing happened, that it wasn't about the money or the old life or anything like that. She swore it was innocent, swore it was just a favor, swore up and down that it didn't mean anything. I didn't interrupt her. I just listened. When she was done, I said what I needed to say. I told her I'd take her back, but only once. I told her I could forgive a mistake. I could forgive bad judgment. I could even forgive the fact that she lied to my face. But I couldn't forgive it again. One more slip, and we were done. No more warnings. No more second chances. I was clear, firm, and calm when I said it. She nodded like a child being scolded. Meek, small, swallowing her guilt like it hurt to even be upright. She promised she'd change. I was putting in 12-hour days at the office and then some. A new client meant I had to reorganize half my routes, and 2 of my guys were constantly late or calling out. I was stressed, dead on my feet most nights. I told myself things were fine at home because, well, they looked fine. She made it easy to believe. After a while, I told her she could start getting out of the house again. She didn't even ask, just kept her head down, staying in, keeping quiet. But I could tell she was getting antsy. The same 4 walls every day would drive anyone a little stir-crazy. So I told her she could go to the spa again, book a massage, hit the gym, grab lunch with her friends. She lit up like a switch got flipped. Not in a suspicious way, not at first. Just relieved. Like she'd been holding her breath and could finally exhale. I figured we were turning a corner. Like maybe, just maybe, the worst was behind us. She started small Pilates once a week at a studio not far from the house. Then coffee with a friend from before we met, some girl named Tessa who wore way too much makeup and talked too loud on speakerphone. She told me everything. Or at least, it felt like she did. Where she was going, who she'd be with, when she'd be back. She'd send selfies sometimes, her in a robe with a green face mask on, or holding a smoothie with some punny name like Kill Me Maybe. I'd reply with a thumbs up or looks good, and get back to work. She even offered to share her location with me on her phone. Said it was for peace of mind. I appreciated the gesture but didn't bother checking much. I figured trust meant not needing to. She looked good too, healthier, more energized. Like getting out and doing something for herself gave her life again. And I wanted that for her. I wanted to believe that we were building something real this time, that the lies and tension were behind us. She bought some new outfits, yoga pants, sporty jackets, those big water bottles all the girls seemed to carry around like emotional support items. I told her she looked great. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and told me I worked too hard. I guess I thought this was what a second chance looked like. And I really did believe. For a while, the routines came back. I'd leave early. She'd sleep in. I'd check my emails before lunch. She'd text me what she made for breakfast. I'd come home tired, and she'd be sitting on the couch, feet up, music playing low. We weren't perfect, but we were quiet. And quiet, in a house like mine, was good enough. I thought we'd turned a page. But looking back now, I should have paid more attention to what was written in the margins. It started off as a whisper in the back of my head. Nothing loud. Nothing obvious. Just a quiet little itch I couldn't scratch. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. That I was just still carrying the weight of what had happened before. That I was being too watchful, too guarded. But over time, the feeling grew. Her outings got longer. Her answers shorter. I'd ask where she'd been, and she'd give me the name of a place I couldn't pronounce or a friend I'd never met. Always with that sweet, effortless smile like I was supposed to just nod and say, sounds nice. She never did anything outright suspicious, nothing I could really point a finger at. But there were little things. The way she rushed to silence her phone when it buzzed. The way she suddenly needed to take her me time out of town, spas that were now somehow too far away to justify being local. Or how she always seemed a little too prepared when I told her I had to work late. I'd walk in the door and the house would be clean, candles burning, music soft, like she'd just set the stage 5 minutes earlier. Maybe most guys wouldn't have noticed. Or maybe they would have noticed and just kept their mouths shut. But I couldn't ignore it anymore. So I did what I had to do. I knew a guy, Jared, used to work in home security before he started his own AV installation business. I told him I wanted to beef up our system, mentioned some package thefts in the neighborhood, and asked if he could help me get a few discreet cameras set up inside the house. He didn't ask questions. Professionals like him usually don't. I told him I just wanted them in the main areas. Kitchen, hallway, living room, and near the master bedroom pointed outward, not at the bed. Nothing shady. Just enough to know what was going on while I was gone. He came over the next afternoon while Emily was out at a deep tissue Himalayan detox something or other, and we got the setup done in under 2 hours. Clean job. The footage fed straight to an app on my phone with alerts for motion, but I could check in whenever I wanted. For a few days, everything looked normal. She'd come home, change clothes, pour herself a drink, put on music, and flop onto the couch with her laptop. Honestly, it made me feel guilty. Like maybe I really was just paranoid. Then Thursday happened. She came home around 4:30, bags in hand. Looked like shopping, nothing strange. She kicked off her shoes, set her purse on the kitchen island, then glanced over her shoulder like she thought someone might be watching. She headed down the hallway. I switched camera views and caught her digging through her purse. She pulled out a thick white envelope, like the kind you use for greeting cards, only it wasn't a birthday. Then stepped up on the armchair under the closet and reached above upstairs. There was a box of her things on top of the closet. I never climbed in there, and neither did she in front of me. I just knew it was hers. She opened the box and put an envelope in it. Then she walked back out and turned on the TV. I paused the footage and stared at the screen. I didn't need a full investigation. I didn't need hours of footage. That one motion, her eyes scanning the room before hiding the envelope, was enough. You don't stash something unless you're hiding it from someone. The next day, she left again. Said she had a networking dinner at a wellness event. She didn't know I had a ladder ready. As soon as the door clicked behind her, I went straight for the closet. The first envelope I pulled out nearly tore in my grip. It was stuffed tight. Inside? Cash. Not just a few bills, either. Neatly folded 20s and 50s, some hundreds. One envelope. Then another. I found 4 in total. Thousands. Easy. I didn't need to ask where the money came from. I didn't need names or dates or receipts. I knew. She was back in business. Whatever promises she'd made, whatever tears she'd cried, they were just smoke. Just theater to keep me calm while she did what she always did. She never left it behind. She just got better at hiding it. I stared at those envelopes for a long time. I didn't even count the money at first. I just kept looking at them like maybe they'd vanish if I blinked enough times. I didn't need a forensic expert to connect the dots. I knew what this was. I just didn't know how far it went. I needed more than guesswork. I needed facts. So I called Mike. Mike and I go back almost 20 years. We served together in the reserves back when we were dumb and full of ego. These days, he works as a private investigator, small office, low overhead, nothing flashy. I didn't tell him everything, just that I had suspicions, that I needed confirmation, that I needed to see it with my own eyes before I made a mistake I couldn't take back. He didn't ask a lot of questions. Just said, "You want surveillance or a one-time track?" I told him to follow her the next time she left the house with heels on. 2 days later, a package showed up at my office. It was from Mike. Inside was a thumb drive and a folded stack of printed photos, high quality, sharp. I spread them out one by one, face down at first, like maybe I needed a minute to brace for what I already knew was coming. The first one was her getting into a Silvertown car, black heels and a dark green dress I didn't recognize. The second was her at the entrance of a restaurant I'd never heard of, someplace with valet parking and wine glasses. Next shot, she's laughing. Hand on the arm of a man I didn't recognize. Late 40s, maybe early 50s. Clean cut. Blue suit. Confident posture, the kind of guy who never waits in line and never checks the bill. They looked like a couple. Not like business associates, not like old friends catching up. The way she smiled at him, leaned in when he talked, it was all too familiar. Like watching a rerun of a show I'd already seen, just with a new co-star. Next picture, they're walking into a hotel together. I didn't flip ahead. I just stared at that one for a long time. My hands were steady. My breath wasn't. The final photo was her exiting the hotel alone, around 2 hours later. Hair down now. She flagged down a cab, stepped in, and that was it. Clean. Simple. Done. I closed the folder and leaned back in my chair. The hum of the office fridge was the only sound. Outside, the parking lot was dark except for the glow of the street lamp. I sat there until my legs went numb, thumb drive untouched, photos still face down. I didn't tell her that night. I didn't tell her the next day, either. I just watched. Watched the way she smiled when she handed me my coffee in the morning. Like she wasn't walking into hotels with men who weren't me. It was strange, feeling that detached. Like I was observing someone I used to know through glass. I'd always thought betrayal would feel loud, explosive. But it didn't. It was quiet. Still. Like standing in a room where the power's gone out, and you're just waiting for the lights to come back on. She asked me that evening if I wanted to try a new restaurant over the weekend. Said she read a review and thought I'd like the ribs. I nodded and said sure. I didn't even flinch. She kissed my cheek and told me I was sweet. Said I worked too hard. Her eyes were soft. Familiar. And still, I saw none of the woman I thought I married. Just the shape of her, wearing a version of trust like a coat that no longer fit. That night, she went to bed early. I stayed in the living room, lights low, just watching the shadows move across the walls. I didn't touch the envelope again. Didn't open the photos. Didn't plug in the thumb drive. I didn't need to. I already knew. And knowing was worse than I imagined. Because now I couldn't unknow it. Couldn't erase it. Couldn't pretend I didn't see the full picture. When I realized there was no turning back, I hatched a plan one morning. She was still asleep when I got dressed. I took my work boots on and grabbed my keys like I did every morning. Told her I had to head in early. She mumbled something, rolled over, and I stood there for a second longer than I needed to, just looking at her. I left, but I didn't go to work. I drove around the block, parked at the gas station a few streets down, turned on the video and started watching. After I left, an hour passed, during which time she was packing and finally left. I didn't know where she was going or for how long. Then I turned around and went home. I risked being seen, which was not my plan. First thing I did was grab the ladder and head for the closet again. I pulled every single envelope from the box above the closet and spread them out on the bed. 8 this time. She'd added more. I didn't even look inside, just stacked them and rubber banded the pile. I set them aside on the kitchen counter, then walked to the garage to grab the spare keys to the front and back doors. I changed both locks myself. It wasn't hard. Took me under an hour. The new key sat heavy in my hand like a loaded gun. I kept thinking about all the times I'd handed her a key, told her, "This is your home now." Thinking how quick that kind of trust gets burned to ashes. Then I moved onto her stuff. I didn't pack it carefully. No folded shirts or labeled boxes. I opened drawers, swept whole piles into bags. Shoes, makeup, purses, everything. Grabbed it all in armfuls and dumped it out front. Clothes caught on the rose bushes, fluttered across the lawn. One of her jackets got stuck in the branches of the tree by the sidewalk. I didn't care. Let the wind deal with it. Somewhere in the middle of it, I realized how quiet the house felt without her perfume hanging in the air. Without her humming. Without the sound of that phone she always kept face down. I walked back in and pulled her card up on my banking app. It was one I added her to a while back. Nothing major, just for groceries and little things. I shut it off with one tap. Then I called my lawyer. I'd never filed for anything like this before. I told him to draw up the divorce papers and to do it fast. He asked if I wanted to serve them right away or wait. I told him to wait. I wanted her out of the house first. He didn't push. By the time I was done, it was past noon. I made a sandwich I didn't eat. Then I sat on the couch and waited. She came home around 4. Heard the rustle of the grocery bag she carried. Then the familiar jingle of her keys as she tried the front door. The sound of the lock not turning must have hit her quick. The knocking started soft, then louder, then pounding. "Sean," she called out. I didn't answer. She tried the back door. Same result. When she circled back to the front, her voice changed. High-pitched, confused. "Why are my things outside?" she asked. "What's going on?" I opened the door, just a crack. She froze when she saw me. I didn't yell. Didn't explain. I picked up one of Mike's pictures and threw it in her face. "Get out of my sight," I said. "I don't want to hear a word. When the divorce papers are ready, I'll write." She opened her mouth like she was about to say something, maybe a protest, maybe some soft excuse. I didn't give her the chance. I shut the door, locked it. Then I sat back on the couch, same place I'd been the night before, only now the house was finally quiet. She stayed out there for a while. I could hear her pacing. Then the shouting started. She demanded I open the door, that I give her money, that I give her back her things. Probably referring to those envelopes on the closet. She thought I didn't know about them. Said this was crazy, that I was being cruel, that I owed her an explanation. But I'd already said everything I needed to. The rest was just noise. Eventually, she was gone. I didn't go outside until the sun had started to set. A pair of her shoes were still sitting in the flower bed. A blouse had blown into the gutter. Her red lipstick was smeared across the mailbox, must have dropped from a pocket or a bag. I didn't touch any of it. Just turned around and went back inside. A week passed. The house was quiet. A strange kind of quiet, not peaceful, not heavy. Just flat, like the sound had been turned off on my life. I kept busy, went to work, came home, cleaned up the last few things she'd left behind. I texted her. After the divorce papers were filed. Just the essentials. Time, date, court address. No pleasantries. She didn't reply for a day. Then she blew up my phone. At first, it was begging. She wanted to talk, said she still didn't understand, said it was all a mistake. When I didn't respond, she switched tactics. Said I was heartless. Said I owed her. Asked me where the envelopes were. Asked if I took the money. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. She sent one long message saying that money wasn't mine, that I'd stolen from her, that she'd worked for it, that she needed it back. I just replied, I don't know what you're talking about. She called a few times after that. I let them ring out. Eventually, she stopped trying. At least, directly. The court date came faster than I expected. My lawyer showed up looking like he hadn't blinked since 2003. Hers came in swinging, young guy in a tight suit, eager to prove something. She walked in looking put together. New haircut. Beige trench coat. That same calm face she wore when she lied to me over breakfast. Like nothing touched her. They tried to paint me like the villain. Said I kicked her out without warning. Said I destroyed property, mishandled shared finances, created an unsafe living environment. I almost laughed at that one. They brought up the money, of course. Her lawyer pushed hard on that. But she didn't have proof. No bank transfers. No income records. No photos of the envelopes. Nothing. Just her word. And that didn't hold much weight. The judge didn't have patience for the drama. Looked at what we shared on paper, TV, fridge, washing machine. That was it. Everything else was mine before we met. I made sure of that. No joint accounts, no contracts in both names. She wasn't even on the house deed. The court ruled that she'd get her half of the few things we bought together during the marriage. I agreed without argument. Let her take the TV, the washer, the fridge. I'd replace them. No big deal. She wanted more, of course. But the law didn't side with her. When we walked out of the building, I thought it was over. Then she lost it. Right on the courthouse steps. Screaming at me. Telling anyone who'd listened that I was a thief, a liar, a fraud. That I ruined her life. That I used her. People stopped and stared. A couple stepped back. A security guard came out and tried to calm her down. She yanked her arm free and stormed toward me. For a second, I thought she might actually hit me. I didn't move. The cops came out next, told her to settle down. One of them grabbed her gently by the arm, said she needed to leave. She kept yelling over her shoulder as they pulled her back toward the parking lot. Called me a monster. Called me empty. Said I'd regret this. I haven't. I never saw her again after that day. I heard things through the grapevine, people talk. Said she was back in the scene. Same bars, same circles, new names. Heard she'd been bouncing between cities. Somebody said she looked thinner. Tired. Like life had caught up with her. There was even a rumor she got sick. Something serious. I don't know if it's true. I don't ask. It's not my place anymore. I gave her a home. A second chance. A way out. I gave her everything I could without losing myself. And she lied. Again. Without hesitation. Without care. I just closed the door. Sometimes people ask if I'll ever start over. If I'd give love another chance. Maybe. Maybe not. But I'll never give blind trust to someone who hasn't earned it. That part of me, naive, hopeful, soft, it's gone. She didn't just lie to me. She taught me how not to be lied to again. Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think wives deserve a second chance after an affair? If you liked the story, subscribe to the channel and give us a like.